What you're about to see is truly shocking because there are things you can do anywhere else in the world, but you just can't do or say in Malaysia. And as someone who lives here and sees all the terrible stuff done by tourists all the time, I'm covering the top 10 of those unspoken social rules that I've learned the hard way so you don't need to.
I put them in the order of not so serious to terrible mistakes, starting with the first one.
And number 10 is showing love and affection in public. And that includes hugging, kissing, and whatever the meow you're thinking about right now. Now, I didn't know this was that big of a deal until they started putting up signs telling people not to do it in tourist spots. Since Malaysian culture is rather traditional, and people just want to keep a lot of things to themselves. And that also leads to the next one, showing too much of your skin. So you come here dressed up like a TikTok dancer, and then you realize people don't really dress up like that. Because like I said, the Malaysian cultural setting as well as influence from the religion, wearing too little is considered inappropriate and even offensive if you're going to a place of worship like Mosque or Hindu temple. Now, sometimes they'll be nice enough to give you a robe to cover everything, but if not, please understand that not everyone wants to see your belly button.
So I'm a good example. Wherever I go in Malaysia, this is how I dress. No tattoos, no revealing too much. Heck, I only show my collarbone. The more you respect their culture, the more respect you get. Simple as that.
And speaking of respect, the next one is also about respecting their feelings and their eyeball. Because you shall not eat with your left hand. Now this isn't as atrocious as eating pizza with a fork and spoon. I see you. Yes, you. Stop eating pizza with a spoon. But traditionally, people here use their right hand for eating and their left hand for, you know what I'm talking about. So if you're a left-handed person like me, it might feel natural to use that left hand, but to them, it's pretty unclean to do so.
And they wouldn't stop you or anything. They would just stare at you, which is probably worse.
But nothing is worse than the next mistake we're talking about that hopefully you haven't done it yet. Because number 7 is not bring durian, mangosteen, and pet into the hotel. Now for pets, you probably understand that people here don't travel with their pets as much as we do in the Western country. And the hotel workers may not enjoy cleaning after your pet every time you stay. But what's wrong with durian? I thought it was the most famous food in Malaysia. Well, it turns out that not everyone loves the smell of durian, so if hotel guests keep on bringing them in, hotels will start to lose customers, and that ain't good. But what's even worse is this tiny, teeny, purple-looking thing called mangosteen. It may not look like much, but the moment you dare to open it, your hands will be stained by the deepest color of red, and they don't come up easy. So if anyone were to eat a mangosteen that touched all the blankets in the hotel, they will have to throw it all away, so be a nice guest. No bringing in those fruits into the hotel, and no pets, no matter how cute they are.
So you're traveling with your pet in Malaysia, your best bet would be looking for pet-friendly Airbnb or homestay, because a lot of them have their own pets in the house anyway. But the next one wouldn't be that easy.
Because number 6 is don't touch people. And yes, this is also because of the Malaysian culture and religious belief. Now, I know a lot of you want to shake hands when saying goodbye, maybe even a hug, and after that, a kiss on the cheek. Or hey, that baby is so adorable, I just want to poop you on your nose. This isn't the country for that. And you will get into trouble, especially with Malay women. But the next one is a rule that's rather easy to break if you're not careful, because you can't eat food or drink, smoke, or throw away trash when taking the metro. They have trash cans throughout the station before you board the metro, and just to keep everything clean, they don't want you to eat or drink. Water is probably okay, but the metro inside Kuala Lumpur is pretty short, where 30 to 40 minutes would take you to most places. So if you're thirsty, finish drinking before you go in. But if you're thinking about drinking beer, the next rule will sound scary to you, because you're not allowed to drink at so many places in Malaysia, you might as well quit drinking. The number 5 is no drinking beer in halal restaurants, mosques, and even in public if you don't want trouble. When I first came to Malaysia decades ago, I learned this lesson the hard way. So if you can take away anything from this video, pay close attention to all the common tourist mistakes from this point on. So halal restaurant is what we call a Muslim-friendly restaurant. If you see this sign, you know you're inside one. And since drinking beer and any alcoholic drink is considered a huge no-no in the religion, they don't sell alcohol and they don't want to see you drinking. So what should you do? A real-life example, I have a friend here who runs a restaurant for both Muslims and non-Muslims. And whenever you want to drink beer, he would encourage you to pour it secretly into a coffee cup, and when people ask you, just say you're drinking coffee. And also this applies to public space too, depending on where you are. So I pretty much only drink inside my hotel room.
I'm not drunk, I promise. You're drunk.
I guess staying in the hotel for too long is bad for us, so let's head out. But right before you enter any mosque or Hindu temple, remember to take off your shoes, because if you break this rule, you won't be welcome. Normally they have signs to remind you, but if you don't see any, you can kindly ask the people there, or just follow what others are doing. Now the same rule applies when you're entering someone else's home, be it a friend's house or homestay and Airbnb. And not just in Malaysia, but in most Asian countries, this is what you gotta do to be polite. As well as the next one, which is to respect your elder. Please don't be rude to people older than you, because when we see tourists do that, we just want to cry. And that also applies to many details in your everyday life, such as offering your seat to elderly people on public transportation, or when they invite you to celebrate something important, you may have to say yes just to be polite. But nothing is as terrible as mistake number 1, which is making fun of religion. Now maybe you watch stand-up comedy and TV shows do this all the time, but in Malaysia, trust me, you don't want to do this. This is a country with many people from many origins, beliefs, and cultural differences. Everything is in a delicate balance, and we learn to respect one another as much as possible. So something that may be funny on social media could be a serious insult if you were to say it in Malaysia. Actually, you will see an overall theme across all the do's and don'ts that I mentioned here is all about respect. You want to have a good time, and people living here want friendly tourists who share the same love and passion for their culture and their country. And it's simply one of the most beautiful countries in the world.
So now that you know what not to do, your trip inside Malaysia should be safer and easier. I hope. But don't worry too much, because these are some of the nicest people in the world you will see. And it's pretty normal for people to come up to you to talk to you because they really want to know more about you. But how good are the hotels? Because in this video, I went to the cheapest 5-star hotel over here to see if it's really that good or not. And you won't believe what happened.